This is coffee number 5. I'm your host, Lara Schmoisman. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to coffee number 5. My coffee is ready as usual. I'm ready to have an amazing chat. So, as you guys know, I'm daughter and sister of lawyers, and everyone who always work with me or had an audit with me, they know that I always go into legalities. It's embedded to me. I mean, I grew up in a household that my vocabulary was very well developed at a young age. My parents talk always in legal jargon, and all my friends made fun of me about that, but it just really helped me later on in life. However, I do see the importance of brands to understand the legal consequences of what they're doing. So today I brought another friend, and I welcome Masha. Thank you so much for being here. And you have an incredible trajectory. Today, you're specialized in MoCRA and regulations for brands, but also you come from the background of sustainability. So why you don't tell us a little bit about you and your background, and how did you get to where you are today?
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Laura. And I have my coffee too.
Oh, awesome.
Yes, I do come from a background of advocacy, consumer advocacy specifically, and advocating for safer, sustainable products in the beauty industry. I started my career, or when I started my career in the beauty industry, I was at the National Women's Health Network, where I developed their cosmetic policy program and did a lot of lobbying at the con, uh, congressional level and agency level, advocating for different policies to enhance regulations around um, um, regulatory oversight in the government and I say,
Yes, I
ingredient,
heard that.
yes, and ingredient safety. And then I also put a special emphasis on how these issues impact inclusive communities, because women are the majority users of many cosmetics, and also certain communities face certain harms or more harms because of their added usage for different cosmetic products and skincare products and hair care products. And so that's a long way to say that I did a lot of background work in advocacy and sort of bringing the attention to some of these issues that were lacking in terms of regulation. And so when MoCRA was passed, as a result of a lot of consumer advocates, including myself, including other nonprofit organizations, NGOs, and even industry lobbyists and advocates, I decided to assist brands with compliance given my deep understanding of the policy and regulation.
That's so important. But there were some things that you were saying back then that it really caught my attention and is part of the continued conversation. Let's talk first about clean beauty. What it means to be clean beauty and why clean beauty is always evolving. And there are different standards of clean beauty. You have Credo, Sephora. Can you explain our audience what clean beauty means and why there are different standards?
Yeah, so clean beauty means a lot of different things, given that
Mhm.
there isn't a regulatory definition for clean. And so retailers have become innovative and developed their own standards for clean. And like you mentioned, Credo has a clean beauty standard, Sephora has a clean beauty standard, Target does, and other retailers. And they're all different, and some of them are very similar. But essentially, many of these standards are, they're excluding harmful or known to be harmful substances and chemicals in products. And they're also, well, yes, they're free from, they're restricted or banned. So they set their own standards in terms of what clean is, but essentially, I guess the value or the underlining theme is that we want products and consumers want products that are not harmful.
Absolutely. But why is it keep evolving? And do you think that some standards are crossing the line a little too much of their cleaning roles?
I would say no, I don't think so. As a advocate, that's my
Okay.
background as a consumer advocate. Um, they are evolving because consumer needs are evolving. Also, other countries' regulations are evolving, as you know. The EU and UK are far more advanced in terms of the amount of um, banned and restricted ingredients in those countries versus US.
Yes.
So it's a vast
So
difference.
do you think like we have now the MoCRA law that we're gonna get into that soon, but also that we're gonna evolve at the point that we're gonna unify what we call it clean ingredients and have a list that is gonna be more unique and not depending on stores?
That's a stretch. I mean, that would be great. I think it will take a lot of working together from industry side, consumer side, um, and industry advocates. They have their own scientists, and so does the consumer advocates, and they often have different opinions in terms of what and expertise and knowledge around which ingredients are clean and not clean. And so I think it's going to take a lot of collaboration, and then working with Congress as well to get legislation around this issue.
Do you think it's important?
Of course, yeah, I do think it's important. I as a consumer myself, and disregard my background, I like to shop for products that have proven, whether it's their claims, whether it's their ingredients, to be clean or to be free from certain harmful chemicals, and are efficacious as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So another thing that you just touched on was different ethnicities or different backgrounds. Do you feel like the beauty industry are put some brands and putting themselves in boxes that they're just, you think it's a marketing strategy, or they're really products that it works better for an ethnicity or another one?
That's a layered question given, you know, I'll use the example of hair products. Different ethnicities have different hair textures.
Mhm.
My wash day might look completely different from another person's wash day who is not a Black woman, who has, forward textured hair, which requires a lot of moisture, a lot of conditioning, and a lot different wash routines. So I think in terms of it depends on the product category. But for hair products, for example, I do think it could be advantageous for brands to put themselves in the specific box and market to specific communities, given that um, the needs and the textures and the those communities have different needs. But I've seen with some marketing, for example, I don't want to name any brands, but I have seen some brands that I've heard that if it works for this community, for example, Black women our hair requires a lot of moisture in order for it not to get damaged and break and get brittle. And so if the product can work for this community, then it's kind of covering other communities who have different hair textures as well.
Well, I think that this is more a problem solution, like how I see it more for marketing. And yes, there are some communities or some ethnicities that have, like, for example, I'm Jewish Ashkenazi, and we tend to have more skin cancer. So we need to be more mindful of our skin, which is true, is part of our heritage. But also there are many other heritage that they have the same thing. But I've been seeing from the marketing side lately that there are a lot of brands that they are auto-denominating themselves part of a culture and trying to approach their equals.
I think it depends on the type of product because like I used the example of hair, we do have different hair textures and curl patterns. And so if you want to market a product to a specific community that has specific curl patterns and issues with those curl patterns, then I don't see anything wrong with it. But also, you're the expert in marketing, so I would defer to you.
Well, I have my own opinions about that, but let's go back to MoCRA because I'm super interested in talking about what MoCRA means for brands.
Yeah, MoCRA is a regulation that was passed recently, which requires a myriad of different regulations that brands need to abide to. So there's the product listing, and it depends on the size of the brand. If you're a big brand, then grossing over $1 million over the course of 3 years, then your products need to be listed with the FDA. For smaller brands, there are exceptions. It depends on which kind of products you have. The exceptions include products that go around the membrane of the eye, products that are injected, and products that alter the appearance of the skin for more than 24 hours. So there's this new listing requirement that requires brands to list their products with the FDA and update that yearly. And then for facilities,
That's responsibility of the brand itself, or is responsibility of the manufacturing facility to register them?
it's the responsible person. And at times that can be the brand, and then other times it's the manufacturer. And the responsible person is the person that's listed on the label.
I see.
There's also requirements around adverse event reporting, which is also new. And it's this measure that provides the FDA with information about the safety of products. So if a consumer has an issue with a product and they have a serious adverse event, then they need to be able to report that to the brand or give that brand that information, and the brand has, or the responsible person, I should say, has this new responsibility to assess it, keep it on record for 3 years for small businesses and 6 years for big businesses, and report it to the FDA if it's serious.
Oh, that's really important. I didn't know that one. Is that new?
Yeah, that's new. This is one of the new requirements under MoCRA. It's adverse event reporting.
Okay. So there's a whole new section in the beauty, cosmetics, wellness space that is sexual wellness. How sexual wellness get into MoCRA? Because and I'm not an expert on this, but a lot of sexual wellness products that you put internally, I believe that they are considered devices.
Okay, that's a more technical classification. It depends on the ingredients, the claims on the product, and the usage. Device has its own requirements under the FDA, and cosmetics have its own under MoCRA. I know I have clients who have intimate care products, for example, which can go inside of the body, and they're considered cosmetics. So it really would depend on
What's the difference there?
between
Being considered a device or a cosmetic?
device that goes into a whole nother area of mainly instruments. Cosmetics is anything that you put on your skin to beautify your appearance. So makeup, skincare, hair care are cosmetics. You're using these products to, whether it's like make your hair look prettier or beautify your face in terms of makeup or skin. So these are just ways, products that you're using to enhance your physical appearance.
But so, for example, in sexual wellness, that you have products that it will enhance the feeling.
Yeah, feeling is not a cosmetic.
It's not?
No. Well, not really, but there could be some exceptions. Like I said, it would depend on the claims, could depend on the ingredients. And when I say claims, it's like, what is the product purporting to do? You know, is it just making you feel a certain way, or is it improving the appearance of something?
I see. I see. That's very interesting. And it could be for brands to they can go either way, but depends of, I guess, what the company and the purpose is for.
Yes, yes.
So how do you explain sustainability? Because it's really hard for brands or young brands to have like low MOQs. And as you know, in brands in cosmetics, sometimes you need to be making adjustments and modification, or in clean beauty that also the products or the ingredients are, you need to change. So you need to change the composition. So how can you help brands to be sustainable and not necessarily having to incur into more expenses?
Yeah, it's a tricky thing, especially because now sustainability is it's a hot topic. I know 5 years ago when I was talking about sustainability, even in terms of its intersection with climate, people were
Mhm.
and I say people, it was, some of the advocacy that I was doing at the time. It was like, sure, cosmetics, climate change, sure. But now it's becoming this hot topic and this thing that we're starting to see that consumers are demanding for in terms of where consumers in terms of how they think about the environment, like where the packaging is ending up and how the packaging is made, and they're wanting more transparency around where the ingredients are coming from, so it's sourcing and then whether it's clean. So I think sustainability plays into a lot of different aspects, from the ingredients to the packaging, even the claims, because
Or even transportation, storage.
yeah,
How,
it's a long chain of different elements, and brands wanting to well, I think just brands thinking about sustainability from the start is a plus, and it's
it
something
is a plus, but also it could be very costly for a brand trying to be
absolutely.
at the beginning, when you have lower quantities, to try to be completely sustainable.
Absolutely. It is costly. It's an investment. But with the regulations changing and the consumer needs changing, I think it's a smart investment, and it can save costs on the back end. If this brand blows up
Mhm.
and becomes super successful, at least it's starting out with a sustainability plan.
Like, for example, if you need to advise a very young brand that has limited resources, how do you tell them to protect themselves and to start right as a brand from the legal side?
From the legal side, well, I would start with compliance, of course. It depends on where the brand is. So is this brand already developed?
This is an hypothetical brand.
Oh,
Let's have that we're
hypothetically.
starting from scratch.
Yeah, starting from scratch. Yeah, starting from scratch, then I think you have so many options, and it's I believe it's easier to at least start. I don't know that you can get sustainability perfected, but if you start to and sustainability and clean kind of go hand in hand to me in some ways, because the free from includes chemicals that can harm the environment and possibly the body. So starting with looking at your ingredients, where they're sourced, um, how the practices around the employees there are handled. It's really I guess, a journey of a lot of transparency, which has often not been the case in the beauty industry. Even with fragrances, for example, that's a protected trade secret.
Mhm.
But brands that are willing to, or companies and teams that are willing to start from the very beginning with transparency in terms of how they get their ingredients, where they get them, the ingredients that they disclose, and the quality of the ingredients is important. All of that is costly as well. Then
Yeah.
I would go into compliance, making sure the claims are backed, making sure that the marketing copy is abiding by what you're allowed to say based on what the ingredients are, based on the testing or non-testing you've done.
Mhm.
So that's a
That's a really good one. And I'm always say to my clients in packaging, as long if you don't have clinicals, if you don't have the data to back up, in packaging at least less is more, because it can be very costly to have to remove it or to change it.
yeah,
If it's in the website, it's very easy to change, but whatever you print is out there.
exactly. That's great advice.
No,
Wow.
and it's really, really important, the claims. Even, I mean, we're getting flagged all the time with Amazon, with
Mhm.
Meta, with claimings. You need to be super careful. It's something that I got at the agency. Of course, we have copywriters, but also we have a proofreader, and I drive them crazy. Are you sure that this is not claiming? Because you are misleading your customers, and that's a thing that you can never do. Is I prefer always to under promise and over deliver, but to be honest of who you are as a brand and attract someone with facts, not with uh, pretty claims. And I feel like there are a lot of brands that they do that.
Yeah, that's great advice, Laura, because a lot of brands do that. I've come across brands that, I'm assisting with compliance and we have to redo all of the labeling because the claim that there wasn't any substantiation and maybe they just looked at a competitor and thought, oh, we can claim what they claim because our products are similar, but you can't do that. That company may have gone through testing and consumer surveys and other forms of validating their claims.
Yeah, and also like, for example, when a brand put doctor recommended, or you really have to have a doctor and have that in file somewhere to be able to show it.
Yes.
It's not that you can say, oh no, I just put it.
Yeah.
It's the same that with reviews. I had a case of a client recently that I took over from another agency. Let's put it this way. And what I found out is that there were a lot of reviews and there were fake reviews.
Oh man, yeah, that's going into issues with the FTC. You don't want to do that at all. And it's
Of course.
unethical as
It's
well.
not good. It's not good at all, because you are really creating a problem for your brand, because you want people to, and in this case, the reviews weren't even talking about her products. They were talking about random products. So if you start reading, I was like, what was this marketer thinking? And she reached out to him and he said, well, fake reviews are better than no reviews.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, if as you are a good marketer, there is great ways to get reviews out there.
Yeah. And I think you want honest reviews. That also can help you enhance your brand,
Absolutely. It's
and your
so
product.
important is to do social listening. It's something that people don't put it on the side, and it's really important to listen to those reviews and
Yeah.
what people are complaining. It's
Hmm.
one of my tricks. What I really like to work with my clients early on, even when they are in development, and work next to them with formulation and see how we're going to use this with their brand story. For me, brand story is super important, and founder story. But one of the things that I always recommend is go to your competition and look at the reviews and see what
Hmm.
people are complaining, so you don't make those mistakes. If you think that the texture is not right from that product, oh, so what can we do to make that texture better?
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to learn from what others are doing and enhance your own product.
Because there is so much going there out there. There's so many brands. I do believe that there's space more for good products out there. There always is. But at the same time, you need to make sure that you don't put it one more product out there like, oh yes, this is my benchmark. Let's do this, but it's the same as them, but let's just change the branding. That's not having a good product out there. You have to have a problem, you have to have a solution, create a solution, but also you need to look at the competitive space and who you're going to be, because there is so many people there buying products. So you definitely gonna do that. Someone stop buying another product to buy yours. So why?
Yeah. Right, exactly the why. I will say as I'm loyal to the products that I use. I've used certain products for the past 10 years because they're that good. And that goes into sustainability again, because this product does what it says it's going to do, and it did the testing and it actually works. So I don't even have to go and shop around and buy all these different products because I like what I use and it works for me.
That's great, but at the same time, your skin evolves and
It
matures.
does. I mean,
So
I'm sure 10 years I may be using, but for the last 10 years, I have been using some of the same products.
that's fantastic. But sometimes it's good also to start understanding your own skin. Like, for example, there were some products that I really liked, but as I was becoming a more mature woman, I realized that they stopped working.
Yeah,
So I
that's
start to go outside and say, okay, let's find what else works for me. And believe me, it was a journey.
yeah, I can
It,
imagine.
it was a very interesting journey because your body changes and your skin changes with it.
Absolutely.
So before we go, I want to ask you one more question. So if you have, let's say, a brand in the market that they're trying to scale right now, I can tell you what things people are not paying enough attention from the marketing side. We talk about a little bit about how the story, or for me, it's accessibility laws or cookie laws and other laws. But what are things that people need to watch for as they scale a brand?
Yeah, as you scale, of course, I'm going to say this as someone who's in compliance. We
Yes.
watch regulations.
Uh-huh.
At the state level, there's a lot going on. Different states coming, planning to impose various restrictions in the future. I'm going to be on a panel next year discussing this, like what's going on at the state level, but watch out for the regulations. I would also say look at what other countries that are more progressive than the US, depending on what kind of brand this is, if they're just based here and selling here. But look at the progressive countries in terms of what they're doing, or progressive policies that are being implemented around cosmetics in other countries that have big beauty markets, and see what they're doing. I think that's a cheat code. I know a lot of brands that sort of, in terms of when they're developing their product, they're already following other countries that have progressive.
Absolutely. That's one of the recommendations that I always give to my brands, that when you create your product, you create it for the future, that to be able to expand wherever you want, because you never know where your opportunities will come from.
Yeah, and I would say, yeah, as long as you're staying ahead in terms of compliance, I think is important. Staying ahead in terms of sustainability, which is becoming more and more of an issue and theme in the cosmetic industry, and paying attention to what consumers are looking for. I look at consumer surveys. I do research when I do presentations. I look at the statistics on, how many consumers prefer this and prefer that. And so look at those studies that are out there to see how you can enhance your product as well.
That's great advice. Well, thank you so much, Masha, for being here. It was great seeing you.
Great seeing you too, and thank you for having me, and enjoy the rest of your Friday. I'm gonna have
Yeah,
my
and to you guys, I will see you next week with more coffee number 5. Find everything you need at larashmoisman.com or in the episode notes right below. Don't forget to subscribe. It was so good to have you here today. See you next time. Catch you on the flip side. Ciao, ciao.